I would like to advise all those present that notice of this regular meeting of September 21st, 2022 has been provided to the public in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey. Notice of time and place of this meeting has been included in the annual notice of meetings, which was posted and filed with the city clerk and with the Jersey Journal and the Star Ledger. An additional notice of time and place was posted and filed with the city clerk, and was forwarded to the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger on September 16, 2022. The regular meeting of the Municipal Council of the City of Bayonne is now in session. Ms. Medina, please call the roll.
Mr. Booker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Ms. Weimer?
Here.
Mr. La Palusa?
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item is 01, which is a resolution postponing second reading and a public hearing of an ordinance referring the redevelopment plan to the Planning Board for a consistency review for the redevelopment plan for the property located at 69-73 LaFonte Way, and adopting said redevelopment plan pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. It is postponing it to the meeting of Wednesday, October 19th. It's moved by the Council President. Mr. Carroll, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
02.
Madeline, on this is the ordinance for the breeding and raising of fowl. I would ask that this be carried with the municipal councils at their discretion. We've had some more conversations. We might reintroduce, in order to protect the homing pigeon individuals, we might reintroduce the entire ordinance in October, although it could be that we're just going to amend, as I said last week. So I'd ask that this be carried.
And motion to postpone to October 19th?
Move it.
Second.
And on the motion to postpone, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
3 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, approving an encroachment agreement between 957 Broadway Urban Renewal LLC for an encroachment of proposed vestibules associated with a restaurant to be located at Block 77, Lot 16.01. It was introduced at the meeting held on August 17th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for a final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of September 21st. It is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. The resolution is moved, giving the ordinance second reading by Councilmember Carroll. Ms. Weimer, will you second?
Yes. Aye.
And on second reading, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, approving an encroachment agreement between 957 Broadway Urban Renewal LLC for an encroachment of proposed vestibules associated with the restaurant to be located at Block 77, Lot 16.01. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Ms. Godesky.
Can you elaborate on this? What exactly is planned?
Yes. There are 2 vestibules on Broadway for this building at 957 Broadway.
2 entrances on Broadway, you mean? 2 entrances?
2 entrances, and the proposed vestibules will be built around the doorway. Will go into the right-of-way 3 feet, as they're already set back 5 feet. I measured it. It should have 8 feet of clearance for people to walk between the bench that exists now and the doorway vestibule.
It's not going to impact the pedestrians walking or anything like that?
No, I measured it to make sure that they got.
Because the way they push the concrete out is a traffic hazard. We all know that. It's like really too wide. Even Lance thinks it could be a little shorter.
What I did was I asked them, Mr. Maselli can, he can attest to this. I asked them to move the bench. The bench is 4 feet away from the curb. I asked them to move the bench up 1 foot, which would give them an additional foot to make it 8 feet. And I measured it with a measuring tape myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And on the motion of final passage, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
04 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 5, Animal Control, which was introduced and passed the first reading at a meeting held August 17th, was published in the Jersey Journal, and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of September 21st. It is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the council president, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Booker, will you second?
Second.
And on second reading, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 5, Animal Control. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Ms. Gadesky?
This says
Please
that,
state your name and address.
Gail Godesky, 828 Kennedy Boulevard. This says that they will be neutered and then returned to the place where they pick them up?
So if it's okay with you, if I could read what's going to happen with the TNR?
I would like the
and then
full
you can
ordinance.
question on that
Yes.
afterwards? Okay, so I give you a little synopsis. We also have Mr. Santini in the audience to answer some questions if there are other questions, if that's okay. I do the overview, and then if you want to come up here maybe and answer questions. You don't have to come up unless you have questions for him, okay? So there'll be colony caretakers. They're going to register his or her colony with the health department. The health department will issue a voucher for each feral cat. Caretakers are responsible for trapping feral cats with their colony. Mr. Santini states that the rescue groups generally trap the feral cats, and the health department will coordinate with NJ Humane directly regarding the pickup of a maximum of 5 feral cats from a registered colony before 5 o'clock on Thursdays. Pickup will be at the location of the registered colony or a designated location within the City of Bayonne. New Jersey Humane Society will transport the same to its West New York facility. They will house the cats from the pickup on Thursday until they are transported to either Twin Oaks and Teaneck or the ASPCA in New York or another agreed-upon facility for treatment depending on availability the following Friday. During this time, NJ Humane will feed the cats and keep the said traps clean. After the treatment is performed, the cats will be transported back to NJ Humane's West New York facility for quarantine. The males will be kept for 24 hours. The females will be kept for 48 to 72 hours. During this time, NJ Humane will feed the cats and keep the traps clean. After the said quarantine period, they will be transported back to the registered colony. Treatment includes spaying, neutering, rabies shots, pain medication, and ear tipping. The cost for all of the above is $150 per feral cat. Flea medication is an additional $10. The vouchers will be signed by the veterinarian and returned to the caretaker at the time of drop-off of the cat. The caretaker will have to submit the voucher to the health department for entry into the computer system.
Okay, So my question is, what if there's not a caretaker? We're taking everybody's habitat away. There's no trees, there's no grass in Bayonne anymore other than Bayonne Park. These feral cats are roaming residence areas. The urine smell is outrageous. What if there's no caretaker? What happens then when they're around residents, et cetera?
This is a pilot program that has to have the public involved as well. I spoke to Mr. Santini. If he has to trap the cats, the cost goes up almost 3 times the amount.
And who's paying for that?
The money has been allotted right now for the TNRs, $25,000 allotted by the city.
Okay, so Mr. La Palusa, to be clear, if a resident has feral cats in their area and wants them removed and not returned, Mr. Santini, can that be done?
So, Mr. Santini, you want to just come up here and...
What's
talk
the
to
point?
microphone?
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
So why can't that be done?
You can't relocate a feral cat to a different colony. It's like, we use a funny term in Western New York, you know, you're mixing the Bloods with the Crips. So what happens is...
Or the council with the public? You could use that,
It
too.
depends if the council's being in a good mood or the public's in a bad mood. But unfortunately, the reality is you cannot move a cat from, let's say, 7th Street and put it at 7th Street, and the 7th Street cats are going to be saying, what's going on? We don't know you. They're going to fight. It's going to be dangerous. So what we like to do, we start in other towns. We pick up there's a lot of colony caretakers. In this town, we have a lot of cat people who love cats. So getting involved with the New Jersey Humane Society, trying to help this, there is no money for the Humane Society. This is part of us saying, we want to help. You guys have been trying to do this for years. This is the first time I'm getting involved with the TNR. I've been doing TNR in Bayonne quietly. Not now it's exposed and we have to do it through the town, and the town's going to allocate this pilot program. If the pilot program works, I hope the council will reconsider next year or in 6 months, more money is allocated to the new budget to increase the TNR. The problem is, we're not doing anything. So if we start somewhere, there'll be less kittens.
What about adoption policies? Like, instead of returning them, why can't they be adopted?
I'm glad you asked that. So a full-grown cat cannot be adopted out. It's like a tiger. It stays in the street, it kills the mice, and some people really like the feral cats. I'm not going to point fingers or point names, but I know plenty of places in this town where people have feral cats in their backyard, 19, 18 cats. They feed them, they clean them. They take care of the cats better outside in their backyard than their own home. Unfortunately, I also know people we donate food to, and I would never release the names, they can't feed themselves. But they spend their times and monies, whatever they have, with the Medicaid or any food not Medicaid, Medicare, whatever monies they get, from Social Security, and they buy cat food. So they come to us, and any cat donations we get, we turn it right around and give it right back to them. We don't need to use the food that's donated, and if we have extra food, we always turn it over to the feral cat communities.
So what,
Kittens can be adopted. So as I'm still going, if we find kittens that are feral kittens, 6, 8, 12 weeks can be domesticated, as long as they're healthy and they get their shots, and we get to spay and neuter them when they're 4 months old. So we actually hold kittens for a long period of time.
okay.
We can hold a kitten, let's say, 3 months. So we will hold the kittens and domesticate them, and volunteers come in and they play with the kittens, and my daughter is one of them now. She's a cat lover. She wants to bring all the cats home. I said, we can't bring all the cats home. But once they're defleed, they all come with fleas. Every cat comes with fleas. And we want to put the cat, we want to stop the population. Me starting this program, and I'm talking in front of everybody here, it's not going to stop next week. Not next month, it's not going to be, the problem is not going to stop. This has been going on for a long time. But if you don't start, how do you stop it? So it has to start somewhere. We're going to start today. We're going to start this and get it going.
I know you've been trying to get this done for several years, so I'm glad it's finally getting started, at least.
It took
And
a
we
long
have a
time.
lot of money in the cash. We have a lot of cash, so
Well, if
maybe
you
they...
find it, let them know where it is. and-
They know where it is, so maybe they can increase
This
it.
is a start. I just hope it can be increased, and we can all get together and make this work together in harmony.
Thank you, Mr. Santini.
You're welcome.
Hi, so I'm actually from Jersey City. I run a trap neuter return group, all volunteer.
Please state your name.
Oh, Alex Alton. So I co-run an all-volunteer trap neuter return group out of Jersey City. We focus in a low-income neighborhood, 07304, which is Bergen Lafayette and parts of Greenville, with the goal of moving into Greenville. We trap 400 feral cats a year, and it's the single only solution to what's going on. Cats get spay-neutered, they get vaccinated for distemper, along with a host of other things we don't need to get into, and rabies, and then they're returned to their colony. But $25,000 is a start. It's a drop in the bucket. That's what my partner and I spend every year ourselves. And then we have a whole other team out and working in different neighborhoods. But it needs to start somewhere, and this is the only solution. Feral cats are, by nature, the definition, we call them community cats now. Some are feral on the scale, some are friendly, some are kittens, they're unowned. But for $25,000, it would be my recommendation that you do high-intensity trapping or targeted trapping versus picking off colonies here and there, although we're getting inundated with calls from Bayonne with feral colony caretakers and residents desperate for help. So however you go about this, it needs to happen. In terms of the economics of it, your animal control budget is never going to change unless you start investing in it. It works the same way birth control works for people. You know, female cats can have 3 litters a year, usually 4 survive. Those cats then exponentially multiply, but it works so well. Some of the blocks we're working on in Jersey City will have 35, 40 cats on one city block. Within 5 years, we're down to single digits. It reduces all of the nuisance complaints you're getting from residents across the city, especially the non-cat lovers. No one likes the smell of a male, unfixed, intact, feral cat. It stops fighting, it stops injuries, the colonies are healthier, but Bayonne is decades behind everyone else. Jersey City hasn't been great, but they're moving in the right direction. Organizations like Kathleen's, they've been working on their own for years upon years, but you know, this budget needs to get approved, and you should also have an educational partner. We recommend Neighborhood Cats. They run a $10 virtual workshop teaching average people how to safely trap feral cats, how to care for colonies, and how to help their neighbors or their blocks. So this money needs to get released and the program needs to get started. We trap through the dead of winter. That's a great time to do it. So even though we're kitten season never ends, but the peak is, we're on the downward swing. TNRing through the dead of the winter, you're not finding as many friendlies and you're not finding as many litters, so it's a great effective time to get going. So that sounds like one of the issues that have come up, but there's no time to start like tomorrow. Our little group did 21 cats in 10 days. So it's straightforward, it's easy, it's not complicated, average people can do this.
If you want to leave, if you have some information about that, we'd love to see that.
Sure, I'll
The
send.
council, you know, through my talking with individuals, you know, we know about the unfriendlies, and we care about the animals, we care about the cats. That's why we have this on our agenda. It's a start, $25,000. You may call it a drop in the bucket, but because there's this other group of unfriendlies, unfortunately, they don't care about the animals at all. I don't want to go into some of the other things that I've been told with them. We don't feel that way. We feel we want to take care of these animals humanely, and this is the best way to do it. And starting this program with Mr. Santini, I think, is the way to go.
Excellent, thank you.
Kathleen?
Kathleen Henderson, 88 West 6th Street. One concern I have is that you have to register the colony with the health department. I personally I'm not opposed to that, but there are many people who don't trust the city. There are cats they don't want you to know they're feeding them. They may have many cats. If you could maybe put something out there to encourage the people that, you know, you're not trying to take their cats, you're not trying to hurt them, you're not trying to fine them, because that might be difficult in getting that done. I don't know. I
would hope that the public could see that we're allocating $25,000, and if that's not a show of good faith, I don't know what is. We're trying to make rules that are good for the people helping, the
Right.
public, and for the health department to keep track of what's going on,
Right.
as well as NJ Humane.
Well, I do understand that, but there's, you know how people are. And maybe at some point, we could get a holding area and we could do a mass trapping.
It's something to look into, but as of right now, I don't have that.
Well, maybe all these developers might be able to come up with a solution, help us out.
If
You
I
know?
may, if anybody registers a cat colony, it's like anonymity. It's like, we are not going to do cat hunting and knock on doors and say, hey, you're cat hoarding, and there's animal cruelty charges coming, and New Jersey Humane will not be involved in
Not
the
you,
investigations.
but the city's health department is what I'm concerned with.
We will not be involved in that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Danya Garcia, 251 Prospects. My first time at City Council, that's how important TNR is for me. I'm originally from Jersey City, but homeowner for 15 years. I'm happy to be in Bayonne. I just want to say that there's a ton of people that couldn't make it tonight, part of a Facebook group. They told me, please speak on our behalf and say we are willing to volunteer. I own 5
Beautiful.
traps
That's great.
of my own. I do it on my own. I spend thousands. Anything that we can do to help, to put more money on the 25 grand, we're already spending money. I go to Dr. Mama's and I spend $400 or $500. I have to. If I see a kitten, I have to do it. I'm an animal lover. If it's a crazy cat lady thing, what can I do?
That's okay. It's a good title.
So it is what it is. We have traps. I already do it. I work full-time, but we'll put in time. I have a lot of friends that we've done it. We've brought cats into our homes, into our garages, overnight. I've done TNR for 15, 18 years.
That's great.
Started in Jersey City with Carol McNichol. So pretty familiar with it. I can help other people. I'm just putting it out there. You have my number, Gary. A lot of people do here. We have to start something and not be negative. I'm the new blood. There's a lot of new blood in Bayonne that wants to be part of this program. And I'm in construction. Let's hit the developers. You're right, Jersey City did it. But that's a fundraiser. That's a lot of work in itself. But we can start with that and then do fundraisers, get more money after the 25. Once people see the results of TNR, they're going to be very happy to be part of that.
You sound great.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a
Thank you.
question. Of all the cat people that come here and talk about TNR, we always talk about the vets. There are not many veterinarians, especially, and I'm not disparaging any veterinarians in Bayonne. Everybody has to pay their lights, their gas, their workman's comp. If a lot of cat people got together and you all have the Facebook and you all talk about A, B, and C every day, why aren't we going and leaning toward the veterinarians and saying, hey, why don't you donate your time? The reason I'm bringing that up, in our facility, we are developing a vet room, and we are looking for veterinarians who will volunteer once a week, twice a week.
That's
If
beautiful.
we can have the TNR groups and all the cat people and the crazy cat people and the sane cat people and whatever kind of cat people there are, and put the pressure that we put on the council,
Yes.
if we put that same pressure advocating, saying, hey, you just became a vet, why can't you do 20 hours at the New Jersey Humane Society? We'll provide the vet room, give us a vet that's competent and knows spaying and neutering, because we don't want to have these horror stories of animals going somewhere and then coming back and dying 2 days later.
Right.
But why aren't veterinarians donating to nonprofit animal shelters, whether it's Liberty Humane, whether it's New Jersey Humane, whether it's saying, hey, bring me 10 cats, I'll charge you $75 each. None of them are doing that, and I'll put that on the record to any veterinary association. I don't care who they are. They can come attack me, they can Facebook
No, you're
me,
right.
they can be social media terrorists. The problem is, we don't have people saying, like yourself, you do construction. You go home, you're tired, but you're out there trapping. The other one was talking about winter. Winter is the hardest time to trap because we're out there freezing our asses off.
Right.
And we're trying to catch a cat, and we're just sitting in cars drinking coffee, and there's nowhere to go to the bathroom. Been there, done that. So let's try to focus on the veterinarians. I'll provide the room,
Yeah.
give me vets.
Okay.
We'll schedule the vets 7 days a week. Maybe if the vets hear this story, they'll be like, damn, I've been making money all these years, and I'm not really volunteering and giving back. How are they giving back? They're not. And I'll put on the record, they are not giving back. Dr. Carlos Triana is a dear friend of mine. He does what he can for us as far as spay and neutering. He almost died. He had COVID. He was in a coma for 45 days. Thank God he's still alive. But he donates like I can't even tell you. That's one vet out of how many vets in New Jersey? Thousands. Let these vets try to help. You bring an animal to Oradell Animal Hospital. Not disparaging Oradell Animal Hospital. They're a great animal hospital, but they get paid. You bring a dog to Oradell Animal Hospital for an examination, it stays overnight. My family just brought a dog there. $3,000.
Yep.
Let's have the vets kick back a little. We want the council to kick back. Let's go at the vets, not attack them, not social media terrorists, but let's talk to them and say, hey, the Humane Society will give you a room, fully supplied, whatever you need. Just bring your body, bring your hands,
Vet schools, yeah.
bring us a license, has to be a licensed vet.
Right.
We want a licensed vet to donate a few hours. You do 10 vets, you do 10 cats, 20 cats, 40 cats. We'll donate the room.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes,
Comment about that.
please come to the microphone.
So why aren't you partnering with People for Animals in Hillside, New Jersey? It's $80 a feral cat. They're one of the few vets that handle ferals. For those of us who do this, there are very few vets who aren't comfortable handling ferals. There's a few at Westside. Dr. Beard's new practice, Sage Vet, in Hamilton Park, Jersey City just opened. There's a handful of others. But most vets who do TNR are trained in high-volume spay-neuter. Your average vet is doing wellness. They're seeing people's pets. They're rarely handling feral cats. Feral cats come in tomahawk traps or true catch traps. It's a completely different ballgame than bringing your house pet to be neutered. So I'm not suggesting vets don't give back, but you would think they would be giving back for wellness services, low-cost vaccines, SNAP tests for residents who want to bring in friendlies off the street, perhaps lower cost discounted rates for friendly cats, but feral cats should be going to, I would say, there's a few others, Newark has it, but they're overwhelmed, but it's People for Animals is really the only player in northern New Jersey. Twin Oaks does too, but they're not able to do the volume People for Animals does every single day.
Well, something to look into, for sure.
I just have one comment.
Yes.
I think what just happened here is a fantastic thing. So I think,
Gail, come up to the microphone, please.
I think what just happened, this conversation is a wonderful thing. So I really think that the 4 or 5 of you need to get together and form a committee and get things done the right way. Like you said, we can't depend on the council to do every little thing for the city of Bayonne. But as residents, we can all pitch in and do our share. So I think that the 4 of you could really get together and come up with a plan that would really eliminate or start eliminating the issue. That's just a suggestion.
We'd love to be involved.
Let's just work it through the health department. Yes.
Good evening, City Council. Peter Franco, 109 West 53rd Street. I just had a quick question. Do we have an estimate of what the total number of feral cats are and community cats in the city of Bayonne?
Not a clue.
Okay. I want to say I think this is a great idea. I mean, we needed this for the longest time. Somebody said we're, so far behind in this. We've been in the dark ages when it comes to feral cats. I had people approach me like, what are you going to do about the feral cats when you're running? I said, we got to institute a trap and neuter program. I mean, it's important. You got to maintain the colonies, keep them healthy. So I think this is great. I liked what Mr. Santini said in regards to the vets. I think that's fantastic. Is there a way that we could, let's say we get a vet that's going to do them, 10 cats for $75.
I think what you have to do, though, is to get a group of vets that can donate, like, I don't know how that would work on a schedule, but say, okay, I'm going to do the first week of the month, this one, maybe he'll do the next week of the month. Maybe he only can do one day out of that week, but if they can donate sometime, it's still better than what we have now.
If we get a vet, they wouldn't charge us.
Okay.
There'd be no charge.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I was
that-
trying to make the point. The vet volunteers at the shelter.
Yeah.
He's not going to charge the city of Bayonne.
Right.
Then we can bring 20 cats on a Monday, 20 cats on a Wednesday with different vets. We can't burn the vet out.
Oh, no,
It
absolutely.
would
No,
be for free. It wouldn't be any charge to the taxpayers.
no, I think that's great. You had mentioned the $75 or whatever, maybe, just as a, so
That's
I,
a ballpark, but if we have a vet that actually comes to the facility, we provide everything. Here's the room.
Cool.
Here's the lights. Here's the air conditioning. Here's a Diet Coke. Let's get busy.
yeah, no, that's awesome. And let's say we run into a situation where multiple vets want to volunteer, but like you said, want to keep the lights on and do those things. Would we be able to, utilize some of that voucher money, if you will, for some of the, local vets that would be willing to participate in this program?
I mean, we would talk about, it, especially if it's cut rate, but he's talking about free.
Yeah, no, absolutely, but I'm just, you know,
Not
the
part of
option,
the money, but
yeah.
we're gonna explore how this works this year, and next year see if we can expand it or at least renew it. I wanna see how this goes first, because there's groups that argue, and there's groups that, I want this to go nice and smooth. Kathy Henderson and I wrote an ordinance for TNR, 10 years ago at least? The Smith administration would not do it because there was feeding involved. So they did not want to do it, and so I know you're saying we're light years behind. I tried to get this done. That administration wasn't for it. This administration is for it. The city council is definitely for it. We allocated the money, and there's been a lot of good suggestions right now, and we're not saying we're not going to do that, but the start is right now. This is the start. This is the guidelines, and we can expand on this. So it's not something that we're saying it's just set in stone, but this is our start.
No, I think it's great. And you had mentioned earlier, I think it was $150 total plus $10 for additional medication or something like that.
For the
But
police.
Correct. And so 25,000, you know, roughly, that's going to be 166 cats. Because you said that your cost would be a little bit higher if you had to catch them or whatever. So this approach, we're doing it at
No,
150?
it would be, I think you said in the $400 range.
If we
right?
came out and did someone's cat, it would be very expensive.
Okay.
We're using this program, using the vet we use, we're losing. We're using the tolls. We come to Bayonne every day on animal control. So us coming on a Thursday, picking up cats, it's again, is it the New Jersey Humane Society giving back? Part of my contract is animal control, so if I have to help transport cats back up, it's not an issue.
Cool. And yeah, so I think ultimately there'd be about 166 cats if we, you know, with that. And I think that's a significant number for the city of Bayonne. So I think it's a great job. Thank you, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I came half an hour late, I'm sorry, I was at work, but I don't know if I'm behind on whatever I'm going to say,
Just
but
state your name and address, please.
Caroline, 22nd Street, West 22nd. I personally, I feed every single day about like 15 cats. That costs me like tons of money. The cats wait for me every day at the same spot. If I miss one day, I will feel bad. I would like leave home and just go and feed them. I've seen cats with babies, and the next day I don't find the babies, which means somebody killed them or took them away. I have no idea. I've seen cats with bad issues. Like one of them was having, her eyes was like so big, like that. I felt so bad. I was opposed many times when people were like, seen me like feeding cats. Like some people were really gentle, some people weren't. I had a lot of trouble regarding that, but that actually didn't stop me because I keep thinking about the days when it snows and the snow stays on the ground for like this height. What do the cats do at this time? And when it doesn't rain for a week, how do they drink? Where do they find water? If we have the garbage bags, the clothes, where do they find food if they have no food? People here in the cities, they don't throw food on the floor. Anyway, I just want to say that in my church, if we want to raise money, we make it on the Facebook. So we make fundraiser on the Facebook, and we we address where this money is going to. So maybe this is like, this can be a start from where to get the money. And I wish if there's a shelter in Bayonne itself, to be only for the cats in Bayonne, and maybe the other cities will look at this idea and will just try to make the same idea, you know, but a lot of people will donate, and maybe a lot of people also will volunteer to work if we just start to build this shelter, because it can start as a small shelter, and then it can just go on to be bigger than that. And I'm sure that there is vets who will also like love to volunteer to work and just help. That's it.
Send them to West New York.
Yeah, that's the thing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Is there anybody else before we close the, yes?
Chris Marty, 810 Broadway. This is my first city council meeting. I've lived in Bayonne for
Welcome.
5-6 years now. I've been visiting here for about 10. One of the first things that I knew Bayonne for was feral cats. A friend of mine lived here for many years, and whenever I'd visit, there were dozens of them at the bottom of the block, and I didn't think twice about it. It's just, oh, look at the cat colony, that's new to me. I come from the suburbs, this is interesting. And then the pandemic hit, and suddenly I'm out of a job, my fiance's out of a job, we're out of careers, and a kitten shows up on our deck. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. That's new, okay. So we start learning about feral cats, and we start making a friend out of this cat, because we're not allowed to have a pet in our apartment. And we did the best to take care of him with whatever resources we had, using Facebook, using whatever we could. We couldn't. He died. That's what happens. Months later, someone had poisoned one of the alpha local cats, and which died violently on our deck. So this is a step in the right direction, and it's something that clearly is needed to be done for a very long time. And I think what needs to be said is that it's not just, keeping numbers down and doing what's necessary for the common good, but also people who are doing really, really bad things out there, doing what we can to stop that, because no one should have to see what we saw at 3 in the morning happen. It's very clear what happened. Everything that we've read about how cats react when poisoned, that's what we had to watch happen on our deck. So I just hope that there is some sort of way that everyone can actually unify and work forward with this new program, with everyone with the knowledge that clearly everyone has the resources. With the technology that's out there, there's no real excuse for this beginning to grow. And I'd really like to know what we can do to actually work together on this, rather than, okay, well, this is the beginning of this, now what? Well, where do we put our names on a list? How do we coordinate? What is the next step of this, other than, cool, we're gonna start? That's, I guess, what my question is for everyone.
So the health department is overseeing this.
Mhm.
So if you'd like, they're gonna have like an application for colonies and then paperwork. If you wanna volunteer, I think you can call them up and say, hey, I wanna take care of a colony, or I wanna be a part of that. And they can maybe hook you up with one of the caretakers.
Like, so the question I'm asking is more so, with the people we have in this room and everything, is that the way that we would go about this?
Yes, that
Okay.
is the way the health department will oversee it. They'll oversee the colonies. There's usually one person involved. It doesn't have to be one person in charge. It could be a group of people in charge, and that colony would be for a specific location. And of course, there'll be more than one colony as well. So if you want to take care of a certain section, or if you just want to volunteer, I'm sure we can link you up with some of the other caretakers.
Like, it's not necessarily about volunteering that I'm asking like that. I suppose between education and everything, it just seems like there's a lot of disparate things that how do they all get tied together?
I don't know I don't really know what you're asking. As far as education,
Of just what, people not quite understanding what the situation is. It seems to be there's a lot of confusion about ferals and how to TNR. You explained a lot of misconceptions even in your answers. Education, people knowing what exactly is going on, what the benefits are, the difference of a feral cat and a stray cat, these basic
Same thing.
things. Yeah, well, it depends on who you ask, it seems.
I'm doing this 30 years.
I know, I believe you.
So what's your question? The question would be,
How do we all unify in some way that is cohesive with resources that are currently available?
all right, to make it
That's-
cohesive, like Mr. La Palusa said, it's going to go through the health department, so we can keep an eye, we can have that'll be the general headquarters. So we'll know where all the colonies are and what the problem areas are. So a lot of people said, I have feral cats. Are you going to make them disappear? No, we don't make feral cats disappear.
Of course.
it's the only real humane way to diminish the population
Oh,
is
no.
to do this program.
100% agreed. I'm just asking, how do we unify with the current resources? If this is the beginning of it, how does everyone who's in this room and otherwise
They're going to
work
go through the
together?
health department. We're going to put together a list. We'll put together an email like I did in another town. The health officer will make a full email and let everybody know what we're going to start doing. And we could start this within a week.
Okay, thank you. That was
But
exactly,
it's very disturbing, you said. There was a cat poisoned, you think, in your neighborhood? How long ago was this?
this was, I don't even know at this point, quite a while, 6 months to a year?
Did you call the police department?
No, I mean, at that point, there were dozens that just disappeared overnight.
No, but you said you had one that died.
That we watched it die on our deck and then scampered off, and then looked down and it was dead. And then we called the police department, we called city council and asked, and they said, well, you have to just get rid of the body.
What'd you do with the body?
My landlord took care of that.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who called the city council about
Well, not city
poison
council, excuse
cat.
me, the city, I
Okay,
apologize.
okay.
Like I said, my first city council meeting, so I
Anytime
apologize.
you
That was
see-
not, that was not my attacking you, I assure
I
you.
got you, no, I
Anytime you see an animal injured or sick, or you
Yeah.
believe that was
Yeah.
hurt or maliciously hurt,
Yeah.
you can just call the police department. They have helio officers that'll come out and they'll take the body, and if it calls for it, they'll be in necropsy. And necropsy is the same as an autopsy, if
Yeah.
it calls for that. But if you think someone's poisoning cats in your neighborhood, I would definitely speak to the police department.
Okay, well.
But always call it in. If you don't call
Yeah,
it in,
we did call it in. We did call it in. It was just, we called animal control, I believe.
we would've came out, we would've took the body.
I think what I was told on the phone was to put it in a garbage bag and leave it on the side of
We don't put Fluffy in the garbage.
I
We go right to a crematory.
believe you. I just know what I called and what I was told. I don't remember exactly the line that I did
Okay?
call.
But in the
Called
future,
this-
please, call,
Of course.
start with the police department. Everything's recorded.
Okay. I
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
my name's Nalima Sapre. I'm with Hudson County Animal League, and I live in Jersey City, but I manage cat colonies, feral cat colonies in both Jersey City and in Bayonne, and a pretty large colony in Bayonne. So I'm not going to tell you about TNR because you've been hearing about it for at least 10 years to my, as far as I know. You know it, you could tell me about TNR.
I don't know anything.
And you could tell me about the emotional toll that it has on your residents, how it's not only inhumane to cats, it's inhumane to people, because it's our nature to care about innocent, defenseless, suffering people, animals. It's just in our nature. And to deny us a way to do what we need to do, it's painful. People lose sleep. We go broke. We, at our own expense, find ourselves destitute, just trying to just muster up whatever we can to help in any way we can. And we need you now to do what we have been asking you to do for at least a decade. You have to step up. This is so beyond out of hand. The feral cat situation in Jersey City is pretty bad. It is everywhere. But you know what? More and more, with each passing year, when new cats show up in our colonies, the best thing you can feel when a new cat shows up is when you see that ear tip. Somebody TNR'd that cat. So yeah, it's horrible that a new cat showed up and you have a new mouth to feed, but at least you know that cat's not going to multiply. At least you know there aren't kittens running around somewhere. And if we could accomplish that in Bayonne, it would just be the smallest respite, because this is so beyond.
Yeah, that is our aim. That's our aim.
So everyone has, good intentions. A lot of people don't know where to begin. They don't know what the resources are. They go back and forth on Facebook. A lot of the information's confusing. It changes from year to year. COVID, lockdown, complicated matters. Everything that we knew before no longer works because appointments aren't available, and now you can only bring in one cat. We need a place where we can go, or, as rescues, where we can direct people to learn how to trap, because we're just volunteers ourselves with full-time jobs and colonies to manage. We cannot do everything. We can't do the educating, the trapping, and all the colony care that goes along with it. So we need resources. People for Animals is a wonderful foundation. They've been doing this forever. So why not call them up and figure out a way to set up an education program? Liberty Humane works directly with People for Animals. When they were doing the subsidized program for residents, basically you brought your cat, you made the appointment, you brought your cat, and they took care of everything else. They would even do the recovery after the surgery if you wanted that. They would even hold the cat for a few days to make sure it was safe to be released and healthy again. So these are all things that can be arranged. You don't have to reinvent the wheel in Bayonne. It's being done in other towns, in neighboring towns. So reach out to those other towns and see how they're doing it. The other thing I want you to please consider is that there is a bigger picture here. Once a TNR program does get going, you have to start cracking down on the dumping of cats in these known colonies. I mean, now we're hearing about people coming from across state lines to dump friendlies on the waterfront, which
By
is
the bridge.
bitter cold over there. No winter shelters, no plan for feeding them. They're multiplying. There are kittens running around everywhere. I mean, now they're crossing state lines. Like, they've violated a number of laws, not just the dumping laws in Bayonne and in New Jersey. So, CCTV, put the cameras up if you have, the budget for cameras. put him up and go after some of these people, because at least make an example out of one or two, and maybe that would cut down the dumping. Because we can't, it's already a big enough burden just dealing with the cats in Bayonne already. Now to have people coming from other cities, bringing more in, I mean, how much, something's got to give.
We agree with you, and it's just a matter of catching those people.
Yes,
Yes.
cameras. I hate cameras. I'm anti-CCTV most of the time.
Let's
But
start
in
with
this
this
case,
allocation. Yeah, this is the allocation of money for this program first, and then
yes,
the expansion of that, maybe we'll see what we can do with that.
yes.
Have you complained to anyone about these dumping of cats in these colonies, these out-of-towners?
I've complained to the people who I always complain to, and there's just no answers.
Have you
Nobody
complained
has
to the
answers.
authorities?
I mean, not police or anything, but I mean,
they
we
don't
don't
know
even know.
about it, how's
So
it
there
gonna
used to
investigate
be an officer we knew to go to, Stephanie,
She's
right?
retired.
And then after she retired, we don't know who to go to now.
There
Nobody
are
knows.
Helio officers in Bayonne you can contact.
So we need their names, you know, we need,
You just got to call town hall, you got to pick up the phone.
okay, I mean, I don't, you know, I'm doing this already.
No, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying, there are resources to catch people, and Bayonne definitely has the resources to investigate animal cruelty. If someone crosses state lines, animal cruelty, if anybody wants to know, I don't know everything, I know a little bit, can be a federal crime now,
It is a federal crime.
in certain aspects. Usually the feds won't take everything, but on a state level and a county level, Bayonne can investigate and prosecute animal cruelty. So if you make the call, maybe there's a problem area that Bayonne Helios can look at, and you catch one, it might be a deterrent, and say, oh my God, we can't go to Bayonne no more, we're going to go to Jersey City. We'll keep
Okay.
them out of Bayonne.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank
We're gonna
you.
try and wrap this up now. Does anybody have?
Anybody else?
What's that?
I just want to ask a
Yes,
real simple question.
sure.
So with the health, this is my first time here.
Please state your
Name
name
and
and
address.
address.
Carolyn Hoberman. I live on 37th Street, uptown, and I love my house, I love my block, and love my neighbors. I love these people are wonderful, the work they do. And I've moved from Jersey City, and a lot of these people helped me because I had a toy store on Newark Avenue, and I had feral cats that lived in the backyard, and the landlord wanted to throw them out, and so it was a whole saga. Anyway, what I wanted to just ask is, if it's the health department that's managing this, who's the person from the health department that is managing it? Who's a person, not just a department, but a
So you want to
person?
know who's in charge?
Yeah.
Michelle O'Reilly is.
Michelle O'Reilly. And is Michelle O'Reilly here?
She is not here today.
That is too
No,
bad.
you're right. It is-
So maybe there's some chance we could meet with her sometime.
I'll make
can-
it a point, and I had asked her to be here tonight, unfortunately.
It would have
she's
been
not here.
really good.
Yeah.
So we should call Michelle O'Reilly and try and set up a meeting with her, I think.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all I wanted to just find out. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
very much.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Mr. Santini. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, council, thank you for everything, and I appreciate this finally coming to fruition. Thank you very much.
Ms. Medina? Yeah.
Well, first, let's close the meeting. Let's close the hearing
Okay.
first. You want to close the hearing as a whole?
Sure.
On the motion to close the hearing? Mr. Booker? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Perez? Ms. Weimer? Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage moved by the council as a whole.
Yes.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Perez? Ms. Weimer? Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
05 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, New Jersey, Chapter 35, zoning regulations. Hold off one second.
Thank you.
Which was introduced and passed the first reading at a meeting held August 17th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of September 21st, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by the council president. Ms. Weimer, will you second? And on second reading, on that resolution, Mr. Booker? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Perez? Ms. Weimer? Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, New Jersey, Chapter 35, zoning regulations. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Ms. Gadetsky?
Can you elaborate on this? What exactly is this?
So this is where the retail locations will be allowed, and what we did was we changed the zoning.
Can you speak up, Gary?
Yes. This is in reference to where the two retail locations for cannabis will be located. And what we did was, there was a section of Avenue A downtown that was in this heavy commercial industrial area, and so we are taking that out of the zoning for the allowance of those two retail locations.
Where on Avenue A exactly?
It was down close to like the Best Foods area in that area. It's more
And
than one block.
you're considering to put cannabis?
No, we're taking it away from that area and limiting it to Route 440. We don't want it near schools either.
Where on Route 440?
Does it, I don't know.
On the east side of the 440.
Yeah.
Anywhere on the east side of the Route 440 corridor,
Anywhere on the east side?
of the route, east of Route 440.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Cheryl? Cheryl, is this about the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
Cheryl Riscott, 399 Avenue C, Bayonne. Putting the cannabis dispensary on 440 makes it a little difficult for people that don't drive. It's expensive as it is, so that means people that don't drive have to pay a taxi or someone to get them there. The town isn't that exclusive where we shouldn't have this sold on Broadway, Avenue A, Best Foods, or anywhere. People are walking up and down Broadway smoking it like there's no tomorrow. You have stores on Broadway, as I speak, selling it illegally every day. They're running in and out of the store, selling, buying it. So what makes it exclusive to put it down 440 when these stores on Broadway are selling edibles and whatever they want?
Myself and the police would like to know that because that's not allowed. It's against the law.
Yeah, we know that.
So if you could, if you know the locations, let me know and we'll have that investigated.
You know what? One hand washes the other. You know what that means, right?
Yes.
Peter Franco, 109 West 53rd Street. I think she brought up a great point, because, that is kind of like far off the beaten path, and you're going to have to, if you don't drive, you're going to have to take a taxi or an Uber and a Lyft and incur extra cost. I'm assuming a lot of those folks that are getting medicinal marijuana and stuff, would ultimately, they're probably getting it through insurance, those that, are getting insurance through the state or by other means, Medicaid, Medicare. Those folks don't have a lot of funds. So, I think she brings up a great point. But the fact that it's legal, in the state, we have liquor stores on every corner in Bayonne, in residential neighborhoods too.
There's free delivery. There's going to be only 2 retail locations. This is what this council is deciding to do. We're going to have a vote on it. The rest of the council can tell you what their thoughts are. My thoughts are, I really didn't want it in a residential area, which is that area of Avenue A. This specific ordinance is changing the zoning so it will not be allowed on those blocks of Avenue A where there's homes all around it. And I wanted it in more of a shopping area, which it's already allowed on 440. And I'll be very honest with you, I don't want it around schools, and I'm giving you my take on it. The rest of the council, when they vote, they can give you their count on it.
No, yeah.
But I, for those people who I'm sorry if you have to take a cab or whatever. If it was located uptown and you live downtown, you might have to take a cab for that too if you didn't drive. So it's difficult to say where I could put it where it would make the most people happy. But where it is on 440, it's sort of centrally located as well.
Now, let me ask you something. Is that along the corridor eventually where the pedestrian bridge would go over 440? Because that would make a big difference. That would save people money. And
Sure.
all right, and that's all right. That's great. Thank you.
I have one question to ask.
Yes.
Who's on the board for this cannabis situation? Like, who's the decision makers?
So as of right now, there's nobody on the board. This has to pass first, and then the board will be decided.
Okay, who's going to decide who's on the board?
Yeah, well, the city council will.
But the city council cannot be on the board. From a legal perspective, no elected
No.
official can be on the board.
That's not, I don't think that's true.
I believe it is. I could be wrong, but I believe it's
I
true.
don't believe it is.
I believe it's true. Thank you.
We'll check it.
Sharon Nadrowski, 126 Avenue A. I wasn't really planning on talking, but I just heard you say the location was already decided.
The
You said-
location's not decided, this is the ordinance.
No,
that
you
gets
just
voted
said
on.
you know where it's going to be, the people, because Mr. Franco, I think, asked is this location going to be where the pedestrian bridge was going to be? And you said, I don't think that's where it's.
The zone.
Oh, so it's only one zone, it's not the whole corridor?
So it's the IH zone, which is what this ordinance says. It's the heavy
Yeah.
commercial industrial zone, which is located on Route 440. So it's not already decided. I have no idea who's going to open up
Oh,
and
that's what
where
I
they're
was,
going to open up.
that's what I was going to ask,
No.
because you made it sound like you knew, because I think the industrial
I have no
corridor
idea.
goes
There's no
more than.
applications even in yet, so.
Oh, I think well, I don't think the application has been posted yet, has it, by the city?
No, but that's what I'm saying. How could I know?
Well,
I
it
would-
could have been decided anyway.
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
So moved.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
06 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, New Jersey, Chapter 39, recreational cannabis, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held August 17th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of September 21st, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Councilmember Carroll. Ms. Weimer, will you second? Second. And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, New Jersey, Chapter 39, recreational cannabis. And the council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Ms. Kadeski.
What do you mean by disciplinary actions? This is relating to the beginning of the process, am I correct? So it's the beginning of the process, so you're going to have a board that's going to set all this up.
Well, no, if you're talking about disciplinary actions, that has to do with if there's a violation, how much money, who's going to enforce it, whether it's the public safety director, health officer, construction official, because when you're building a medical marijuana or a recreational marijuana facility, you're going to have to go through zoning applications, construction officials, so there are various disciplinary actions that could take place.
Who's going to do this?
Well, it
Isn't
depends
there
on,
going to be a board or a committee that's going to get this going?
the board wouldn't be doing that discipline. The discipline would be done by the police. if there's a-
Police and Director
Right.
Cooper, right.
Construction official, if there's a health violation, it's a health officer. So it depends on what discipline is violated.
Okay, and when will you have this in process so we could review what the fees are, et cetera, et cetera?
That's what this ordinance is.
So what's the timeline?
Timeline for.
Is this already done?
After, it's on for hearing tonight.
Yes.
So if it's passed tonight, it takes effect 20 days from now.
20 days. So you already have this information?
You're
If it's
they're
an
voting.
introduction, it has to be voted on next month.
I'm sorry, it's on for introduction, so
No,
there'll
it's
be.
not, it's up for hearing.
What's that?
It's up for
No,
hearing.
It's hearing.
Oh,
It's
Yeah,
not in
up
for-
hearing, yeah.
Okay.
So it's on for hearing, so it passes tonight, and then it's effective by law 20 days
20
later.
days later.
Okay, and where is the process? Where do we get the information? All this information?
It was online.
The fees, the support, the resolution, the whole kit and caboodle?
It's on the website,
The whole thing is on the website?
under
Okay.
introduced ordinances.
Okay, thank you.
Oscar Cabeza, West New York resident. Good evening, city council members. I frequent Bayonne quite often as doing commerce, and also my kids compete with your children in the Little League. I do want to offer my wealth of knowledge and expertise. I am a cannabis industry professional. I have been for the last number of years. I do work for an MSO, so I am here to offer any help I can with assistance with ordinances or any difficulties that you guys may encounter. I realize that this is an unprecedented industry, and there's a lot of ignorance and fear, and I'm here to offer any help I can.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it. Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
07 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic, which was introduced and passed the first reading at a meeting held August 17th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of September 21st, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And the resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by the council president. Ms. Weimer, will you second? And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Ms. Gadesky?
You used to have the names who were deleted and the add-ons. Why did we remove that
It was on the introduced agenda in August.
in the
When it's just
caucus?
In the caucus. Not
Okay.
the caucus, the meeting in August had the names and their numbers and their address. But when I'm doing just for hearing, it's just a synopsis.
Okay, and one final note. There's a lot of ordinances coming up for introduction tonight. You guys get to read the entire ordinance. You get to ask your questions at your pre-meetings and your caucus meetings. We don't. We should be able to ask questions. There is no law or rule that I know of at the council that should deny a resident to ask questions regarding the ordinances for introduction. We have always been able to ask questions.
No, you haven't. I've been here for 30 years, Gail. The process is it's introduced, and then you come back next month for a hearing.
It's too late by then.
No, okay, I know. That's not for me to say. Sure. Okay.
Mr. Franco?
Peter Franco, 109 West 53rd Street. I'm sorry, Madeline, but, I've been to many council meetings. I only missed the last month, and that's the first one in 10 years. And I could tell you, under the previous two council presidents, that's Terrence Ruane and Sharon Nadrowski, they've both allowed people to ask questions.
Now you have a new council.
I understand that. But I think the proper thing to say is that this new council and this new council president is not allowing it.
Excuse me. If you have any questions, even after it's introduced, you're welcome to email, you're welcome to contact one of us, and we'll answer your questions.
I understand it, but it's also when it's in front of the dais, it's in front of everybody, in the city and stuff, and so it's a little bit more transparent that way.
And at least you get an answer when you face the dais. You don't get an answer when you send emails. For the record.
For the record, that's not true.
Anybody
Ms.
else?
Medina?
Anybody else? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
So moved.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye. Next is a public comment. It is a 5-minute comment period. This is being enforced, like we have mentioned from the beginning. There's been a lot of press about the 5 minutes, and I would just like to let the press that's in the room know that this was a resolution reinforced in 2018. So it's only being enforced for a resolution that was done 4 years ago by a former council president who also helped introduce that.
First speaker is Cheryl Riscart.
Cheryl Riscott, 399 Avenue C. Council, this is like the 4th time I've been here, and I haven't gotten an answer yet. Why and who gave Michael Boschwick the right to make a movie about me and disgrace my name? I want answers. And why is there formaldehyde planted from one end of the town to the other? When I spoke to 2 city workers in front of Dale's, and they were putting it under the dirt, under the tree, in front of Dale's department store, their answer was, maybe Mayor Davis wants to preserve us, which I think was a little bit of a smart answer. Why are there chemicals that contain formaldehyde all over the telephone poles, every nick and cranny, in every building, and everywhere that I go on Broadway and other parts of the town? I would like to address this to Mayor Davis and the governor, that I'm walking the streets, I can't go into my apartment because Michael Boschwick, and I don't have proof, only except for the people that are around me, is using smell-o-vision, which they do in movies, make smells, into the apartment that I have to run out after 15 minutes, and walking around having smells go under my nose, which is very hard for anybody to inhale if they don't know or didn't read what I have read. If you don't know anything about movies or acting or read about it, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. You'd say, what is she? There's something wrong with her. Read about it. Smell-o-vision. I'm walking around inhaling smells all day long. I'm in the ER 3 times a day for breathing, oh my God, I can't even. for breathing treatments. I'm kind of sick of it, and I think the doctors in the ER are sick of it. Nobody wants to come forward. And somebody needs to. I'm losing my teeth. I smelt this. I drank it out of water in the Bayonne Housing Authority, and I'm ready to file a suit. I'm building this up for a suit against Bayonne and the Bayonne Housing Authority. It's out of control for me to walk around with that thing that I'm walking around with paperwork and evidence, and everywhere, every time I turn my head, something is stolen from me. And it's coming from Michael Boschwick. Somebody supplied him money to make a movie about me, which Michael Quintella is involved. Okay? And now he's making millions of dollars, and he's involved in dispensaries. And maybe he's the one that's going to build down 440. So in my eyes, and I really hate to say this, I love everyone. I love Bayonne. Somebody's getting paid off to let this man do what he's doing. And shame on Governor Murphy. Shame on this man. And everybody voted for him for that $1,400 and their food stamps and whatever. And shame on Mayor Davis. Maybe he should get one of his builders that sit in his office every day to build a building for the cats. Maybe he should try that instead of worrying about where they're going to go and worrying about the vets. The vets are there to make money, not to contribute their time to cats. I know a couple of vets, and they give their people breaks when they bring their animals in. But not to get off the subject, I'm worried about Cheryl. I can't go near my granddaughter. I can't hold her. I got formaldehyde coming out of my clothes. Out of my clothes. All over my body. Who's responsible? The governor? The FBI? Cheryl did this? Cheryl had sex with this one? Cheryl, you got the story all wrong, Michael Boschwick. Something needs to be done. Because if I flipped out and I did something wrong, what would happen? This? I told you she was this.
The police are in the room listening?
I know they're in the room, and I talk to them all the time. It's Mayor Davis and the governor.
Okay,
it's out of their hands.
Thank you.
And I need this to go to the governor.
Okay.
Something has to be done. The sidewalks are all cracking.
Cheryl, that 5 minutes is up. You have to wrap up your thoughts, and we have to get on to the next person.
The sidewalks are cracking, there's tar, all spots all over the sidewalks, and all the curbs are all cracked. Why?
All right, Cheryl, thank you very much.
Peter Franco.
Oh, I hope I didn't break it. There we go. Peter Franco, 109 West 53rd Street. Listen, I know you guys love seeing me at these meetings, but believe it, I really don't want to be here, you know? Tonight, I want to make the case for live streaming our city council meetings. Access to city council meetings is paramount for an informed citizenry. More and more people nowadays prefer streaming content to cable and satellite. In the U.S., the numbers are staggering. 69% of people have at least one streaming service. Only 2 out of 3 U.S. households pay for cable or satellite. The cable industry is losing about 14,000 subscribers a day, and it's projected that cable TV subscriptions will fall below 60% in just 8 years. So presently, our city offers 2 options to watch the city council meetings. You could either watch the meetings via Verizon or Optimum on cable, or you can come here in person. For someone like myself, who's cut the cord over 4 years ago, my only access to these meetings is physically attending at City Hall. I don't have access to rebroadcasts either, so unless I'm physically here, I cannot stay up to date on what's being proposed or voted on, what new ordinances are being introduced and becoming law. So I'm relatively young, I have no kids, I have a flexible job, but what about residents, that have children? Single-parent residents, senior residents with mobility issues, people that just may not have cable. We all deserve access to these meetings, and I think we all agree that the more engaged the public is, the better we're going to be as a city. So the bottom line is more people have access to a smartphone or access to YouTube and other streaming services than people have cable and satellite. Other cities, including Jersey City, Hoboken, Oceanport, they all live stream these city council meetings on YouTube or other platforms, giving its residents the ability to tune in from anywhere. They also archive all the meetings, so if you might have missed that meeting, if you had something going on and you couldn't tune in live, you could always fall back and look back at it at 8 o'clock or the following day. The Bayonne School Board also offers a streaming service, and they also have everything archived in their YouTube channel, and I think they do a great job. I think it's time, and also during the pandemic, we offered through TetherView opportunities for people to attend the meetings virtually and participate. And I think a resounding number of people in the city did so. I think it's time that, we look at technology, we see this. I mean, it's done right down at 670 Avenue C. It's time to start doing it at 630 Avenue C. I firmly believe this is something we have to get behind. It's not a political issue and stuff. I think it will get more folks, a lot of those younger folks that are moving into Bayonne, get them active, see what the meetings are about, see how, the meetings unfold, the process and all of that, and they'll be comfortable to come out and speak. So I hope that all 5 of you up there, really we can come together or something maybe in the next meeting and try to put this together. There's 9 members at the Board of Ed that are able to get this done, other council members in other cities, and Mr. Coffey, your city, or borough, I guess, live streams this stuff and gets them up on YouTube. And you do a great job over there. So I'm just wondering, maybe we can get that going in Bayonne. So thank you for your time.
We are investigating the use of having this at the meeting currently. We'd provide a link on the website like we did during COVID-19. And so we're investigating that now.
And YouTube's cheap. I know I Oprah requested the costs of TetherView and all of that, so I'm familiar with the pricing, and it was relatively expensive. But if we had somebody here in the city who's going to be here anyway, maybe doing cleaning or something, pay them the overtime, you set up a camera, and you just live stream it right to the city's YouTube channel. So it's just, and that could be shared on Facebook and other social media platforms and all that. So thank you so much.
I think, Peter, what we're looking to do is to try and loop it through, if the council's amenable to it, looping it through, using the live feed rather than having someone here and just send it directly to YouTube. But
Yeah.
we're still trying to figure out the mechanics of it.
Cool, thank you.
Ms. Gudetsky?
Good evening again. First, I would like to wish all our Jewish residents a peaceful holiday season with Rosh Hashanah on September 25th and Yom Kippur on October 4th. Also, happy Columbus Day to all those who celebrate on October 10th. Finally, October 5th is World Teachers Day. Let's all celebrate our teachers and mentors, past and present, as they are the keys to success to all our residents, young and old. I would like to start by asking once again about the proposed tax increase. We have more cash in the kitty than we've had in a long time. I don't understand why we need to raise taxes as high as it is proposed. The people of the city deserve an explanation. Or is it because you plan on introducing once again a bond for $95 million, or excuse me, up to $95 million for the eminent domain issue once again regarding our hospital? Why? The property is secure for a hospital, and it does not matter who runs it, but it does matter the grade of the hospital. That should be what matters to all residents, A, B, or C rating. People are resigning at the hospital from left to right because of poor management. Let's put it on a referendum and let the people decide whether it should be eminent domain or not. Let us decide, yes or no, eminent domain. It makes no sense for us to go backwards when the case was already closed. Now, about the article regarding the $25,000 grant relating to combating domestic abuse in the city. For those that don't recall, it was our former council president, Ms. Nujoski, who introduced that ordinance in March at the council meeting. So let's give credit where credit is due. And why did it take 7 months for it to come to reality? Director Cooper noted several meetings ago that domestic violence is a major part of the crime we are seeing here in the city. This should have been done immediately. I do not understand why it took 7 months for this to begin the process. Now, I would like to discuss the residency ordinance. Back in August of 2017, with exceptions that allows for certain exemptions, the ordinance was passed. However, since then, we have been giving positions outside of those exemptions to people who live out of town. Our acting BA, soon to be permanent as of October, is one example. Lives in Chatham and is still on the library board. Since I resigned, the administration cannot find competent people right here in Bayonne for not only those roles, but including the building department. Come on, Mr. Mayor, start giving training in these major jobs to the great people of Bayonne. Those that have a stake in the city and the specific licenses that are required. Those that live and work right here in our town have these qualifications. They are our stakeholders. I asked in writing for the administration's policy relating to conflict of interest in the workplace. Mr. Coffey noted to me he would send it to me, and I thank him for that. I do have the state documentation. I also asked for a copy of the city's municipal ethics board information. I understand this board must consist of 6 members who are residents, and at least 2 should be public members, and no more than 3 should be from the same political party. Where is the municipal code of ethics? I do understand that although there's an ordinance, and we're worried about a 5-minute ordinance on the books, this ordinance is not in compliance. Of course, you can't find competent people to put on the committee. They haven't met in over 10 years. Why? Why are we not complying with these ordinances and we're complying with a 5-minute ordinance? Makes no sense, no logic. There's so many complaints and we are spending so much money on outside legal counsel for these issues. Why can't someone mediate through ethics some of these issues? Yes, I will once again request this in writing, as I know through the state that we are obligated to have this ethics board. Rumor has it that you cannot find people, as I noted. Put an ad in the paper. Think outside the box. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the city that would be more than happy to be part of it. And although no compensation would be allowed, make it part of their job responsibility for those that work for the city, if selected or appointed by the mayor.
Gail, please.
He's been appointing people left and right, so why can't he appoint people to the ethics board?
Thank you.
We have been hiring outside attorneys forever these days, so we need an attorney, hire one.
Gail, please.
I will
wrap
put
it.
all my questions once again in writing, and I hope this information, and requesting Mr. La Palusa's statement that I need to put it in writing. I will be speaking on some ordinances in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. O'Connell?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy O'Connell. I live at 47 Avenue C. I'm here again to talk about the crime in Bayonne. Last time I was here, I was told that Bayonne is safe and that I don't really have anything to worry about. And then the very next week, someone was murdered, okay? I know it seems like I come here and I'm on a mission to bash the city or the police. I'm not, because I love living here. And I love the police officers in Bayonne. I've lived here my whole life. I'm a teacher here, and I plan on continuing that. But my issue is the fact that somewhere along the line, The safety in our city is not what it used to be. The people who live here have moved way down on the priority list of what's going on. I know that everyone complains about buildings. I'm not necessarily here to complain about the buildings. I'm complaining about what's going on behind the scenes. All these buildings are coming up, all new people are coming in, and we love that. We love new people in Bayonne, but we don't love the crime that's now coming with it. And I know that in 2005, there was about 240 police officers. Fast forward to 2022, we only have about 180. And in 2005, that was before we built Walmart and the whole entire east side. So we don't have enough police officers. I know that the police officer's contract hasn't even been fulfilled for over a year. I know because I have 988 letters and messages to me from citizens in Bayonne, including police officers. Their morale is down. There's a reason for that, and it has to do with the administration. A few things did come forward last time. We all do see more police present down at First Street Park. Thank you, Neil, for addressing that as well. But what's going to happen now? There's not, like, I hear people are saying to me, we see more cops downtown. We do. And then I hear from people who live uptown and tell me they don't see any. Something has to be done, and we can't keep blaming the pandemic on why we don't have police officers, because it's not okay, and it's unacceptable. Thank you.
Mr. Torello.
Mr. President, before you start the clock, I raised my hand before. KT Torello, 159 West 3rd. Please don't start that. I wanted to make a comment about the clock. I don't think it's, and this is my opinion only, I don't think that it's fair that the council only meets once a month here. I know you are here numerous times, but sometimes some problems can't be solved within 5 minutes. I also think a person like myself who likes to ask a question, that the clock should stop. Because anyone who does not want to answer that question can draw out their answer. I just wanted to bring that up because
You're the third person that
I'm
has
sorry
given
if I
extra
missed that,
time
Mr.
more than
President.
5 minutes, so.
I'm sorry?
You're the third person tonight that I've given extra time.
No, I didn't say that.
besides the 5
No, what
minutes,
I'm
so-
saying is, if I'm giving you a question, and it may be a lengthy answer from you, I think that the clock should be stopped. Maybe you should think about adopting that in, because not everything is told. We also want feedback. It's the only way we can communicate.
The public portion is to speak your mind. Questions and answers are emailed.
Yes,
or phone
ma'am, and I do understand that. But in all essence, some of the time is beaten. You need an answer.
Not
KT,
public
we're going to
portion.
start the clock, so.
Okay. I was looking at the ordinance tonight. I see, then, where is it? The communication that you went through, at CR 8 through CR 15 is all, yeah, I know, is all community, I have to speak on this, is community block grant money. We have an agreement with the city. I don't see our name listed here for our allotment. Is there a reason why? Again, the clock's running.
Do you want to answer that, or we want to keep?
We do have a confirmation letter from Ashley Lambert. Everything is okay.
If you want to come after the meeting, we can discuss that, but right now, can answer any questions.
All right. The reason I bring this up is I okayed a bunch of things. I couldn't find out the total amount that was given this year as compared to last year. Mr. Coffey, you have those figures? Do you know the difference?
Yeah, but That's something you should discuss after, if you come up
All right.
afterwards, please.
Okay, so I noticed here that the PAL this year, I guess I would like to, I guess we all agree that we provide a valuable service to the city and to the youth of Bayonne. We all agree upon that. Obviously, I've seen your faces down there numerous times. Mr. Booker, you've been on the board. So I'm a little mystified here as I go through the figures through here. It seems that the PAL was cut the most money out of the 19 organizations that put in. And it was cut so severely that if you add up all the rest that were cut, it's a difference of $2,000. Now, I think personally, and this is just me, that what we have going on here is, I have the respect of the mayor, how he feels about me, that's entirely on him. But there's no justification for taking away a third of our money when we have the most children in the city. Now, there is another daycare center, does a fantastic job, fantastic leadership. They got an increase of $6,000. They have 25 children. But it just so happens that that person is being backed for the school board by the mayor. This is nothing more than political retribution. And as you people sit up there, who have been my friends, and that passed by you, Mr. Booker, and you had the audacity to slice that, knowing what we need there, what we go through there, the amount of people we help, feeding the children, busing the children, then you just let it go through like that. Mr. Carroll, same thing. You sign up, right? You sponsor teams. That didn't strike a nerve with you seeing something like that? You didn't pick that up right away?
Excuse me, this is not a question and answer period. Please come up afterwards, because I'd like to talk to you about it myself.
You're saying you don't appear here, that's correct.
All right, whatever. Yes, I don't see that, I don't see it on here. Now, I don't know why the rest of them are on here. I have the figures. I don't agree with them. I'd like to know how we come up with these kind of numbers versus money numbers versus children. They don't match up. It's not fair that
Mr. Coffey
you...
wants to just...
Yes.
AT, tomorrow, I'll call you, we'll get Samantha Howard on the phone, and we'll go over the numbers.
Well, basically, I haven't spoken to Samantha yet. It's usually I go through Ashley Lambert. You know who Ashley is?
I know who Ashley is.
She's a very nice person, okay?
If you want to do me, Ashley?
I would have a good,
You tell me, you want it to be me, Ashley, and you? That'd be fine.
whatever's necessary.
Okay.
It's never necessary. I
I'll
just
call you.
want to know some answers about this here. I find it odd that it's not on here. I find it's very strange. You know, maybe it's just my nature, or maybe it's just that nobody here will pick on these kids, not as long as I could breathe and stand here in front of you people. I'm very disappointed in you, very disappointed in you. You could smile all you want, but you were one of us. I expected more from you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, back to the ordinances.
Ms.
08,
Medina,
yeah,
I'm requesting, we're pulling 08 and 09.
okay. Gentleman wants to address the council. You should have signed up. Were you allowed it?
We're pulling 08 and 09.
Okay, but the gentleman in the back would like to address the council. Do you want to?
You can address the council.
Come on up.
Sure. This is about the ordinances, the two ordinances?
Public
Oh, all
portion.
right, go ahead, I'll allow it.
Thank you, appreciate that. Patrick McManus, 97 West 29th. First, I'd like to say that, like, I mean, we have a lot of good cops in town, and I love good cops, so, and they do a great job, the ones I've encountered. So with that said, I mean, there's not that many of them, and they're kind of strained. And I know we used to have auxiliary police in town. And I know that I've talked to some officers, and they're like, I think it was Officer Wanko I was talking to, and he said, if you're a plumber and you do it for free, and I'm a plumber and I work, you're taking money out of my mouth, or my kid's mouth. And I'm like, not necessarily, because I don't know if the chief could attest to this, but I mean, you would love to have cops not sit and block the street from McCabe's or the fire department when they could be on patrol. We could have an auxiliary officer do that, you know, or church traffic. When an officer could be on patrol, this guy comes over. I know they do overtime at construction. That's, you know, we would never touch that, or I wouldn't dream of that, but I would, you know, like to see what interest is, especially from the two officers on the council, you know, what they thought about that. I mean, I think it would really help alleviate the cops. We could have them do menial stuff that the cops, you know, take up a lot of their time. I have emailed people here, and I haven't heard anything back a lot of times. I don't know if it got lost or whatnot. Another thing I wanted to touch on is, you know, we moved from New York City to Bayonne because it was better, safe, and whatnot. I'm very proud, and, you know, there's a lot of leave it alone, Bayonne, you know, type thing, and it's funny and stuff, but I really am proud to be from Bayonne, and a lot of people I've talked to that have left, they're very proud of the town, but a lot of them I talked to, and they said, what happened to that town? I mean, this town was a blue-collar town, from building PT boats, to guys who worked on the Motby, to guys who busted their butts for their family in the Exxon Mobil plants. This town was built on blue-collar workers. You yourself, Gary, you get your hands in literal poo and muck and pushing a mower and whatnot. Why are we pushing our guys out of town? Why are we saying that no commercial vehicles can sit on a street overnight when these guys are leaving early in the morning and they're not going to do anything to you guys during the day? A lot of them live in town and have property in town. I being one of them. I served this city as an EMT, and now I want to serve the city by towing vehicles, so I started a company, and I have 3 trucks already, and now I can't park them anywhere. I have to go now leave my town that I love so much, that I worked for, that I serviced, and I got to find some place in Jersey City and pay $3,000 a month to park my trucks because you guys don't like us in an out-of-way place. I mean, I know that we're looking to redevelop all the tankers down on Hook Road. I mean, I know it's hard to see trucks in your town. If you don't like seeing trucks, move out to Morris County. You're not going to see them. You're going to be in your nice little happy Mayberry neighborhoods. But this is a town that blue-collar workers built. And right now, they're rolling over their graves, basically what you're doing to at least the 17 truckers that I know that are rushing with less than 2 weeks to find a place to park. Some of them are saying, I'm going to park, I'm going to pay the tickets. And now you're going to tow them, and it'll take more of their livelihood. Now I have to charge more for somebody to tow them. And then they're going to be like, well, why? So it's like, now I have to pay more to park somewhere. I got to pay $3,000 a month to somebody to park somewhere. And then I have to charge more. So those guys who are shipping stuff, they have to charge more, and it's just, it rolls downhill. And it really is disheartening, and I think the short-sightedness of this council, especially with blue-collar workers here who know what it is to bust your butt, to make it harder for them to do their job, it's appalling. And I don't know what's going on in this town anymore. But, you know, my time's coming to a close. I will say I'm still proud to be from Bayonne, even though if I have to move and you push me out, I'll come back. But every lot I look at, okay, I don't have a big conglomerate around me to pay for parking for me, Gary. I don't have a corporation. So now I have to find it. Oh, what about that lot? That used to be a gas station. No, that's going to be a residential. What about that one? They just pulled that down. There's a fence around it. I could buy that. No, that's residential. So now you told me that I got to find parking, but where do I find parking? In Bayonne. Now I only can't service Bayonne. I got to change the side of my truck to Jersey City. It's sad. Thank you.
Okay. 08 and 09 have been withdrawn. 010 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 35, zoning regulations, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, October 19, 2022, at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. The resolution is moved by the Council President. Mr. Booker, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll? Mr. Carroll? He stepped out. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
011 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 35, zoning regulations, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. The resolution is moved by Councilmember Booker. Mr. Carroll, who would like to second? Mr. Carroll.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll is absent. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
013, it should be 012, actually, is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 3, police regulations, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. The resolution is moved by Councilmember Booker, who would like to second.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll? Is he back?
I just got back from the restroom. We are on number
012.
12.
Yes. And we're taking the vote for introduction.
I vote aye on 12.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
013 has been
pulled.
removed. Yes. Okay. And we are now up to consent, communications, and it's a consent resolution moved by the council as a whole, ordering the following communications to be received and filed. It covers C1 through C14. Any questions on the communications? And on the communications, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Officers' reports is a resolution ordering the following, hold on, I gotta get through it first. Is a resolution ordering the following officers' reports to be received and filed, and resolutions incorporated within them to be adopted. It covers OR1 through OR4. Any questions on the officers' reports? Okay, which ones?
OR2 and OR3.
Okay.
I have OR1 and OR4.
Okay, so let's just take everything off of there, the officer's report. OR1 is from Donna L. Mauer, Chief Financial Officer, reporting on the vendor payments and recommending payment of the same, and a resolution adopting the recommendation and ordering payment of the claims. Who'd like to move, receive and file that? We're not going as a whole. Everything is coming off. Who would like to move it?
Move.
Second.
Okay. And on the officers' reports, you want to take the questions first before you take your vote?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Gadesky has a question.
Yes, I remember at the last council meeting, we asked if we could have a copy of the vendor payments at the meetings. Do we have them? I thought we said we would have them at the meeting so we could see them. All right, can I email you and you could send them to me tomorrow? Thank you.
Ms. Medina,
I'll
do you
make
want to go out of order and do OR4 since Ms. Gadesky had a question on that as well?
Okay, were there any other questions on OR1 before we, okay. So on OR1, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And you want to go out of order and take OR4?
Ms. Gadesky, you want to come up and ask your
Hold on,
question
let
on
me-
OR4?
Let me just
Sure,
hold on, let me get there first. You got to introduce it. before
Okay,
you can-
sorry. I did that last time, too.
From Donna L. Mauer, Chief Financial Officer, submitting the supplemental debt statement as of September 21st, 2022. Who would like to receive and file it?
Second.
Okay.
If I may, to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Mauer, the supplemental debt statement, what's that in reference to?
Oh, well, actually, that should have come off because we're not.
Because you're not doing OR1 and 01 and 02. So this has something to do with the 95,
Yeah, but we
the
didn't-
95 thing, but, so you're pulling it?
Yes, that should be pulled, actually.
Okay, I hope that's a good sign, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so we're pulling 04.
We're pulling 04.
OR4.
That was my mistake, missing those two. So we're back to OR2, which is from the Honorable James M. Davis, Mayor, appointing Donna M. Russo as the Business Administrator effective October 1st, 2022. Who'd like to move it? Okay. Questions on OR2? Peter?
Good evening, City Council. Peter Franco, 109 West 53rd Street. You know, I believe in transparency. I've been coming to these meetings for almost a decade now. You know, I've been highly critical of a lot of positions and hires. You know, the name Donna Russo is tossed around privately. The one word I often hear from employees past and present is bully. You know, Donna has been named in multiple ongoing lawsuits, had several grievances against her during her time in the law department. Donna serves as the harassment coordinator and decides which complaints to ignore and which to pursue with an iron fist, often choosing to ignore complaints against employees that have proven loyal to Mayor Jimmy Davis, while at the same time refuse to take actions to protect victims. She conducts her own investigations into union grievances and absolves herself of any wrongdoing. In one pending lawsuit, it was alleged that when a grievance of assault was brought to Donna's attention, she mishandled the complaint and created potential liability for the municipality with the alleged victim. Another ignored harassment grievance resulted in another lawsuit filed against the city of Bayonne. Gender discrimination, political retaliation, another assault, same thing. The common factor is the employees making the complaints have been viewed as disloyal and, you know, to the administration, and so their complaints seem to be swept under the rugs, leaving employees no option but to bring their cases to court. In another ongoing lawsuit, Donna Russo has been accused of interfering in a police investigation of an illegal recording of a female employee and told the accused to not speak to the police. In many cases, these alleged victims who reported their complaints to Donna have ended up demoted, had their responsibilities stripped from them, moved around to different departments, were fired, or eventually resigned because they could no longer endure the stress. Now, several months back, Ms. Russo was recorded threatening a fellow city employee, stating, I quote, "I'm not coming at you. If I was, I would punch you in the face." Of course, Donna absolved herself of any wrongdoing. She was only joking about physically assaulting an employee. Oddly enough, that employee has been moved to the recycling department. Not as punishment, of course, right? So my question is, how can we reward behavior such as this? What example does it set for the rest of the city employees or the morale of City Hall? I find it hard to believe that in a growing city of 80,000 people, that this is the best choice the mayor can come up with. Donna Russo shouldn't be promoted to business administrator. She should be immediately replaced as harassment coordinator and, in my opinion, fired. I guess I could stand for 03, right? Cool.
And any other questions on OR2? Okay. So take a vote on OR2. Mr. Booker?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
OR3 is from the Honorable James M. Davis, Mayor, appointing Suzanne Kavanaugh as the Director of Municipal Services effective October 1st, 2022. Who would like to receive and file it?
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Franco.
Okay, so according to the officer's report, the City Council is considering Mrs. Sue Kavanaugh for the position of Director of Municipal Services. I have a few comments and concerns regarding this appointment. In June of 2021, Ms. Kavanaugh, serving as the community health nurse for the City of Bayonne, spoke before the city, declaring that she is in favor of an eminent domain ordinance in addition to supporting a $95 million bond ordinance for Bayonne Medical Center. As a city official, Ms. Kavanaugh has knowledge, or had knowledge at the time, that the hospital was never in danger of closing. And as a city employee, she blatantly misled and lied to the public by saying without eminent domain and the bond ordinance, our hospital will close. Well, here we are today, 17 months after Mrs. Kavanaugh's comments, and the hospital's still open. So many of you are probably wondering why Mrs. Kavanaugh was so determined to see those ordinances pass. Why would she blatantly lie to neighbors, friends, and colleagues? Well, if Ms. Kavanaugh had an ounce of integrity, she would have disclosed her ethical conflict of interest of having direct financial gain if the eminent domain ordinance went through. You see, her husband, Bob Kavanaugh, is the attorney for the medical center handling the eminent domain process. Now, these ordinances didn't pass last year because the council president at the time consistently voted no on it, and Councilmember Galais, who served on the hospital board, abstained from voting on any matters regarding this hospital as recognizing the conflict. So I have an unreleased recording that I'm going to share with everybody tonight that occurred around this time last year, where Sal Galais is discussing how Bob Kavanaugh, Sue's husband, called Sal's bosses at the county to pressure him to vote for the eminent domain ordinance.
Kavanaugh's husband called, the husband called your boss.
Yeah, he called all my boy, he called everybody.
To try and pressure you to
How
vote.
long is
Look,
it
he's
going to be?
he's a lawyer for Hudson. And my boss called me and said, you can vote, you work here, you don't sit on the board. I said, I know, but I'm not doing that. I said,
You're conflicted, that's all that matters.
No, but I said to him, I'm not voting because I sit on the hospital board.
Yeah.
Not because I work for you. I know I don't sit on the board. I don't make no decisions for Hudson.
And now, he called everybody.
Called everybody.
Peter,
I don't really know who's speaking.
That's all right,
Yeah.
and I'll share that with you.
Yeah.
So the voice you just heard on the recording, and I'll be glad to share that recording with anybody within the media as well as the elected officials. The voice you heard on the recording is former Councilman Sal Galais describing his interaction with his boss and acknowledging that Bob Kavanaugh called Sal's bosses regarding the vote. So at first, we had Mrs. Kavanaugh lying, and now we have Mrs. Kavanaugh's husband trying to influence a voting member of the city council for their personal financial benefit.
So Peter.
I'll wrap up shortly.
Let's wrap this up.
Absolutely.
I didn't put a timer on you.
We don't need a timer on that. There's
I'm just
no
telling
ordinance
you-
that
I'm
suggests.
just telling you, wrap this up because you're starting to make things personal.
It's not personal, absolutely not. Listen,
We don't
This-
want to make this personal is what I'm telling you.
it's absolutely not personal, but I think when you sit there and lie to the public for 17 months regarding this, and you don't disclose your ethical, financial disclosure there regarding this matter, I have a problem when you're going to put somebody in a seat of leadership. So let me just finish, and it'll take less than 2 minutes. This is the way that business has been conducted. During her speech last year, which I remember very clearly, she invoked 9/11, Hurricane Sandy, and the pandemic, tugging on people's emotions to get her goal achieved. I ask of you, if this person, is this the person you want supervising and training employees? Is this the type of behavior you want to reward? Is this someone that the public can trust, being responsible to oversee redevelopment, zoning, and a $350 million long-term control plan? I don't feel comfortable personally putting someone in charge of municipal services that has lied to the public, been involved with coercion with an elected official, and had demonstrated dishonest behavior while serving as the city employee. And I'll be willing to take any questions if either one of the potential new hires have any questions or public comment.
So just so you know, I heard those rumors as well. I spoke to Mr. Kavanaugh and asked him if he had a conflict in that area. And I think he would like to address what you said because you're basically making an accusation about him. So if you could vacate the microphone and let him explain how he doesn't have a conflict, I'd like to hear both.
Okay, well, I mean, especially because he's clearly representing in that eminent domain area. So if this goes through, there is a conflict. So,
Okay, but let's hear what he
okay.
has to say.
Would I be allowed to come back up and?
No.
Oh,
You
so-
said your piece,
so-
let
so-
him say what he has to say, and then we'll vote on it. We heard what you said, though. I listened to every word.
Okay, because, I mean, it is interesting that '08 and '09 are, back on. I mean, they got pulled tonight, but they just made their way back on. And it's another
Well,
conflict.
they're not. It's not
Okay.
the same thing. It's not.
Robert Kavanaugh. I'm an attorney. Board is McPherson McNeil. Mr. Franco is...
Please address the council.
I will, but Mr. Franco has made an accusation that I'm going to take these one at a time. Most damaging one, and I will be talking to my partners about on a libel suit, is that I made phone calls to Mr. Sal Galace's bosses at the county and put pressure on them to get him to change or do something with the vote. Now, I wish Sal was here because I did have a direct conversation with Sal, and he explained to me that he was on the board at the hospital, and he said, does that cause a problem for me? And I said to him, Sal, I don't represent you, but you should talk to the attorneys from the corporate counsel from the hospital and ask them if you have a conflict. I personally don't think that if you're involved in the hospital matter itself, and then you're going to be asked to vote on something that impacts the hospital, you may have a conflict there. But I'm not in the position where I can advise you because I am not your attorney. So I would suggest you speak to the attorney from the hospital in that regard. That is the only conversation I had in relation to Sal Galace and that vote that was taking place on that eminent domain. So that, Mr. Franco, I'm telling you.
Mr. Kavanaugh, please.
No, I'm going to address
But
him.
address us.
Because he's making accusations that are blatant lies. And I have integrity, and I'm not going to stand for it. As far as my wife, calling my wife a liar and saying that the hospital is in danger of closing, the hospital, as we well know, has struggled since 2008 to stay alive and stay afloat. And we saved it back in 2008, and it was, again, we've read in the paper. We didn't have to hear it from anybody else. We've read in the paper how the hospital was struggling monetarily and what things were going on there. And all that took place on the night that she appeared before the council and made a statement was that as a former nurse at that hospital and someone that is intricately involved, that was intricately involved back in 2008 along with myself, you, Gary, Tony Chiappone, the other council members, Mayor Doria. I mean, we went out of our way to save that hospital. And it's personal to us that that hospital remains a viable hospital. Why? And she cited 9/11. She cited Hurricane Sandy. She cited things that we're on a peninsula. We get closed off. If you have a heart attack and we're closed off and we can't get to Christ Hospital and St. Vincent's in Staten Island or the Jersey City Medical Center, you're going to die. And that's what this is all about. This is about people's lives. This isn't about anything about money or monetary things. As far as me representing the hospital, I represented the firm with Jimmy Flynn in advising them on what eminent domain means, because they didn't do eminent domain in Jimmy's firm. So he asked me to advise them what, if eminent domain were to happen in the city of Bayonne, what impact that would have on them as a contract player between the hospital and the owner or what have you. And that's what we did. We gave them advice as to how eminent domain works, what the procedures are, that there would be a complaint filed, there would be an appraisal done, and that there would be commissioners that would consider it, or it could go right to the tax court, and they could have a full-blown hearing on it.
Do you have a dealing with them now?
Huh?
Do you have dealings with them?
No, I am not dealing with them anymore, because I gave them the advice on the eminent domain, and I haven't been called back in since they last asked me about how the eminent domain would work, and whether if it went forward. And that's what I do. So, you know, if I have a conflict because I gave them advice on how eminent domain works, where am I making money on that? By virtue of what my wife does. My wife does not sit on the council. My wife does not cast a vote. My wife has no influence whatsoever in whether eminent domain gets done or not done. If she had a vote, you might have a point, but she has no vote. She's a nurse. She cares about the hospital. She cares about the people of this town. And I'll be damned, I'm going to let somebody like him impugn her integrity. Where were you in 2008, Mr. Franco? Huh? Were you here trying to save the hospital? I'd love to know where you were. You know where you are. You know where you are.
All right, everybody. No talking from the pew.
Anyone else on
Let's
OR?
not make this personal, both of you.
Anyone else on OR3? Okay. And on the communication for OR3, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
I just want to say there are differences in opinion. Some of them are going along political lines. The two women that are here are appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the city council. So I heard both arguments. I know both of those ladies personally. They're tough when they have to be tough. They're gentle when they have to be gentle. Getting through COVID-19 was very, very difficult. I personally think Ms. Russo and Ms. Kavanaugh did a great job during that time. And I can't disagree more with some of the comments I've heard today, and I emphatically vote aye.
Consent resolutions is a resolution moved by the council as a whole, ordering the following resolutions to be adopted. It covers CR1 through CR26. Any questions on the consent resolutions? Which one, so I can,
Yes, Michael?
okay. Gail, what's your,
CR4, CR5, CR9, CR21, CR22, CR25, CR26.
okay. Go through them again with me, Gail. What was it?
CR4, CR5, CR9,
Mhm.
CR21, CR22, CR25, and CR26.
25 and 26. Okay. Put them back in order. And no other questions on the remaining consent resolutions. Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Okay, since we have two questions on CR9, we're going to take that out of order. And start with CR9, which is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Team Wilderness for the program to visit nature wilderness sites in the amount not to exceed $3,000 for a period of 1 year commencing September 1, 2022 through August 31st, 2023. Who'd like to move it?
So moved.
And second? Okay. Questions on CR9?
Microsignal, how is this program done? What is it through, the school system or,
Just give us your address, Mike.
42 West 23rd Street?
Thank you.
Ms. Howard isn't here this evening, but I'll call you tomorrow and find out how it's actually administered. It's CDBG fund, so it's a grant fund. They have to qualify. They have to be a 501c3, I believe, in order to qualify for one of these grants. So if you want more particulars, I can take your number and I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, just so I can direct people that are interested in something like that,
okay.
Where to go in the city, because that's really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gadesky.
Yeah, I'd like more information on this as well, since the habitats for all our animals are disappearing with all these buildings going up. We got raccoons walking on Kennedy Boulevard in Avenue C. We got hawks scrolling around. We have the feral cats, of course. Now we have raccoons, skunks, possums, all over the place. So maybe this team can help eliminate some of those animals as well. Thank you.
And on CR9, Mr. Booker.
Sorry.
CR9, we're voting on CR9.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Now we go back in order. CR4 is authorizing the advertisement for various requests for qualifications and proposals for professional and/or extraordinary unspecified services for the upcoming calendar year, commencing January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, pursuant to the fair and open contracting provisions set forth in NJSA 19:44A-20.4 and NJSA 19:44A-20.5. Who'd like to move it?
Second.
Gail has a question on it.
Yes, I know this says unspecifiable, but what exactly do you mean by that? We're authorizing advertisement for what specifically? Any examples?
Yeah.
And proposals for professional
We'll see,
services?
we get the list from Mr. Coffey. Yes, Ms. Mao,
This
can
is
you
for
answer?
every year. We put out the RFPs for all the contracts for the city. This is just authorizing us to put out the RFPs. An EUS is actually a statutory term. If it's not a professional service or a contractor, it's considered an EUS under the statute, Local Public Contracts Law.
Okay, so you don't know what they will be?
There'll be
It's
lists
a
of.
broad thing,
Yeah,
right? It's
for
like a broad
every
term.
year, we advertise.
For the
all
all the RFPs?
Yes.
Okay. And they're due between January 2023 and December 2023? Or are they due at a specific time during that period?
That's the contract period will be for next year. These are for next year's contracts.
Okay. Thank you. Might as well just stay up here, right? Yeah.
And on CR4, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
CR5 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an addendum to the access agreement between ExxonMobil, Ruex Associates, Inc., dated October 13, 2017, for the purpose of remedial investigation activities at the ICI subsite of the former Exxon Bayonne terminal, which is extending the agreement term through March 1st, 2027.
You want us to expand on that?
Yes, please. What's the addendum? What's the,
Okay, well, Gail, as you're well aware, we've got monitoring wells all over the city of Bayonne on remediation sites. And this is just an extension on one site, the old ICI site, that they're looking to extend the number of monitoring wells and the period in which they have to keep monitoring them. So it's just essentially, it's an access agreement. We're acknowledging the fact that they're monitoring the wells. There was I guess, a finite number on how many wells they had before. So let's say they had 6, now they're going to have 10.
yeah, but that's at the end of what you wrote here. What about execute an addendum to access agreement? And then you have, after 2027, you have and amending the scope. So there's 2 issues.
Yeah, well, you have it says amending the scope of work to include additional monitoring wells.
Right.
So they're going to add monitoring wells to keep the property safe, so we know that it's clean at the end of the remediation period.
Right.
And
What's the addendum to an access agreement?
the access agreement allows them on the property so they can go and look and monitor and check the monitoring wells. So it's to allow people to do the work that's necessary to make the properties clean.
Okay. Thank you.
And Gail, they're all over Bayonne. There are
Yeah,
monitoring
no.
wells all over.
I worked fast on.
Who'd like to move it?
Second.
And on CR5, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
CR21, that was one of yours too, Gail, is authorizing the purchasing agent to advertise for bids for the improvement to the Thomas D. Domenico Pool Building.
Yeah, it's kind of coincides with CR 22. Why can't it all be rolled into one? Do we need two different bidders for the project? It can't be, one bidder doing all the work? I think it's a little redundant. You have CR.
One is for a pool liner.
Yeah, the pool liner and the pool.
There are companies that just do pool liners. And then there are improvements that might have nothing to do. It could be to build a deck or to build a concession stand. It could be to re-point things. I'm sure that I'm going to direct it to Mr. Cotter. Are these two bids in any way related or can be related?
No, the only thing that relates them is that it's the pool.
Aren't we doing anything to the pool itself besides the line? I mean, the whole pool needs to be if you're doing the liner, you got to check the concrete, blah, blah, blah. It could go deeper into that. So it's really not just the liner.
That's what the other bid is for.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it should be working together in conjunction with.
If we could do it, it was easier for the city to do it with one, I'm sure we'd do it with one. But when you're seeking a specific product, like a pool liner, that's separate and distinct from the myriad other things that are wrong with the pool, you want to get companies that specialize in pool liners and the installation of them. Everything else is separate and distinct from that. So if we
Just
could do,
cosmetic?
I don't think it's just cosmetic, no.
Okay, thank you.
So we're on CR1, who'd like to move it? And on CR21, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And who would like to move CR22 with this authorizing the bids?
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
CR25 is authorizing a warrant in the amount of $92,561 payable to the state of New Jersey for new construction and alterations for the state surcharge fee. Who'd like to move it?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Can you elaborate on this, please?
CR25.
25.
The state portion of the fees. Right. The fees that certain fees that the building department collects, a portion has to go to the state. So this is the portion that's being sent to the state.
That's by statute, Gail. Statute and/or regulation.
Thank you.
And on CR25, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And CR26 is granting 5 raffle licenses to qualified organizations.
No, UEZ projects.
Which one did I miss?
26.
CR26, that is CR26.
No, that's CR 27.
It's the FY 2022 UEZ projects.
Oh, okay, sorry. I pulled out the wrong one. Okay.
What are the projects that the UEZ plans for our small businesses these days? We haven't helped them during the COVID except give some of them some money, but what do we plan on doing for our small businesses with these projects, authorizing UEZ projects?
There's still some programs going on.
Like?
Well, I'm going to get to that. They're giving monies for awnings. There was a facade program still. I'm trying to think of some of the other programs that they had. It's just starting, yeah, the sidewalk sale. The farmer's market, right? I
It's
think?
for the continuous UEZ programs that we've been doing. What happened is the state reenacted the UEZ program. So now we actually have to, the council has to approve the projects. They have to be submitted to the state UEZ board through the stage system, and they have to approve them before they release the funding.
Who's on the UEZ board right now?
This is the state UEZ board.
I know, but who's on the city's UEZ board that handles all this right now? When I was employed, they haven't met because they never had any meetings.
Well, the UEZ at that point had been essentially defunded by the state.
Well, not really, but we were still doing awnings and we were still doing facades.
We had remainder of money, correct.
So who's on the UEZ board that's going to handle this?
I think the board has to be reactivated at this point. I don't know, there's this ordinance that sets forth who's on the UEZ board that's consistent with the statute, and I think it's got to be reconstituted because the state has now reinvigorated the program.
Okay, so before you do this, don't you have to do that?
No, it's not required. The council just has to approve it, and the state UEZ board will approve the projects or deny the projects.
Okay, so when do you anticipate the UEZ city board to be reinstated?
I don't know either.
I'll have that discussion with the mayor. Yeah, I will have that discussion with the mayor.
Thank you.
And RCR 26, who'd like to move it?
Move it. Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R1 is authorizing Chapter 159, Number 1 in the calendar year 2022 budget, seeking permission of the Division of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of items of revenue. Is moved by Councilmember La Palusa. Mr. Carroll, will you second?
Second.
Any questions on R1? And on that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R2 has been withdrawn. R3 is authorizing the request for proposals for professional planning and engineering services for the master plan update, including but not limited to sustainability, resilience elements in infrastructure planning, and professional planning services for the preparation of an area of need of redevelopment and a redevelopment plans, including but not limited to the Constable Hook section of the City of Bayonne pursuant to the local housing and redevelopment law. It's moved by the council president. Mr. Carroll, will you second?
Second.
Any questions on R3? Yeah.
Sorry, Madeline.
No problem.
Why are we changing the master plan? Why are we changing it? Because it doesn't fit with what's taking place in the city right now?
This is about Constable Hook. We're talking R3, right?
Yes.
Okay. Constable Hook, you were here at the last meeting. There's going to be some tremendous redevelopment there. And as we said, that's the biggest industrial area left in the city of Bayonne. You have IMTT, Exxon, Duke, whatever they are now, several other entities, the golf courses down on that end. So that, we don't even have a map, really, of what's down there. So we need to come up with a comprehensive document that these developers, as they develop the property, or the property owners actually, will have a rubric by which they can develop. Right now, that's the wild, wild west. That nobody's looked at that area of town in 100 years.
You have a map right in the old UEZ office. And at IMTT, there's a map.
Yeah, okay, it's a great map. Where all the infrastructure, tell me where all the infrastructure is, tell me where all the streets are, the railroad crossings, the environmental problems, the lot lines for each of the particular lots. Some of the lots that haven't been changed, or they've been changed, or that haven't been acknowledged in maybe 75 years.
I understand
There are
that.
lots of issues down there that you just can't say, well, there's a map on a wall, that's fine. Yeah, that's unfair.
No, I know, but I'm saying that IMTT and Exxon, they have all that information for you.
No, as a matter of fact, they don't. These properties have been operated and just run by corporation after corporation. IMTT's been in the same was in the same hands of a family for years and years. They're breaking up pieces of property left and right. They decide they're going to put a stable over here, a cemetery over there, and a house over there. No zoning, they just did what they wanted down there.
So I have a question regarding this. If IMTT is included, I understand Exxon. I understand that it's desolate and it needs redevelopment. But IMTT is the biggest taxpayer the city of Bayonne has.
Correct.
Okay. If you're redesigning that, will that impact our biggest taxpayer in the city of Bayonne?
We're not redesigning anything. We're providing an overview as to what should or can go down there. These developers are going to do what they want. They're going to come to the city with proposals. Redevelopment plans are going to have to be drawn up. But you have to have an operating document to work off of. And that 200 and change acres down there is the land of the unknown. There's really nothing down there. As we talked last week about, or last month, if they develop down there, it's going to have an impact. Either it may be a great economic impact on us, but it have a pejorative impact on our environmentals with stormwater runoff. And there are no infrastructure improvements that are municipal. And we need to. You and I are going to be long gone by the time this is finished.
Sure.
So this is a living.
I can still ask my questions, Jay.
You can. That's true. But this is a living, breathing document that'll change over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and we don't have the wherewithal internally just to do this. We need to go out and get professionals to deal with this on an intensive basis and to provide us with guidance.
And then in the future, we'll be able to update the master plan with the things that we've found in the programs that have.
And then we have sustainability and resilience programs that just came out a couple years ago, and I'll tell you that just their hello is this thick. You know, you have to sit through a 2 or 3 hour seminar just to get an understanding of it.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, because you said, Jay said it's, we're talking about Constable Hook, but in this ordinance, it says including but not limited to. So that basically, can I ask my question? So that basically says you can go anywhere in the city you want. You can come do right here. You can come do my block down on Fifth Street, because you're letting that open here. So if you really mean it to be just Constable Hook, well, can we not just say that? Because it seems a little not so transparent. You're saying one thing. Here at a meeting, you just told the public it's about Constable Hook, but it reads to say anywhere in the city.
Okay, I'll do this platonically then.
And then one other, before you answer that, because I'm sure you'll give me the same. In the last, when we did the master plan, we had meetings last time, and the public was allowed to come and input into it, what they thought. Are we going to do that here, or are we not going to do that?
That's built into the process.
Okay, so will be public input into this.
That's part of the process.
Okay, so now you can answer about the not only being Constable Hook.
Okay, if there's development done at Constable Hook, it's going to impact the surrounding areas. So it's.
But this, I understand it's going to change them, but this also just says you can, by this, say, I'm going to go and change First Street, because this ordinance is allowing you to do that, the way it's written.
Correct.
Okay, so it's open in the plan for the whole city.
Well, the purpose of it is if the development of the east side impacts the west side, and it could because of stormwater and combined sewer overflows or separations, you'd have to redo that aspect of the master plan also. So if this has again, if it has a pejorative impact upon the rest of the town, you'll have to redesign the rest of the town. You'd agree to that, right? You'd have to figure out a way to.
Yeah, well, just, yeah, so it could be, but it could be anything, doesn't necessarily, are you saying the changes will only relate to instances, like, so you're not going to go down and say, okay, all of a sudden I decide that CAS cam can now be, we can rezone that to be warehousing or 75 stories, not that it's impacted there, but it would give you the right to do that.
The answer to that in a vacuum is yes.
Yes, okay, so that's all. So you can
In a
make any
vacuum, that's
changes you
yes,
want.
because
Okay,
you don't know what they're going to find over time. You don't know what the experts are going to come up with. You don't know what their analysis is going to lead to.
Based on what you just said now, you said public input. I remember having meetings, even when I was involved with the Bayonne Chamber, we had meetings for businesses and everybody about the master plan. Whoever was doing the master plan came and discussed everything inch by inch, and we were able to ask questions. I hope public input is not right here when it's done and going to be voted on. I hope it's going to be prior to the approvals.
I hate the word, but there will be charrettes as part of the process. It's a very public process.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? And on R3, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Okay. I have a couple of add-ons before we do the R4. Add 1 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a lease agreement with the Shamrock Society of Bayonne, Inc. to hold the 2022 Irish Festival to be held Saturday, October 1st, 2021 at 16th Street Park.
Move that as a whole.
Sure can. Any questions on add 1? And on that resolution, Mr. Booker?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Add 2 is authorizing the purchasing agent to advertise for bids for the paving of Broadway,
Move
Phase
it.
1.
Move it.
Second.
And on that one, Mr. Booker?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, got a hand.
Ms. Gadesky, come on.
I just have a question on add-on 2 and add-on 3. Why aren't they combined? Why two different? You have paving for Broadway and paving for various streets. What are the other various streets? Can't it just be all-inclusive?
No, we're going to be applying for grants, so we can't mix grants.
Oh, UEZ grants?
No.
Okay, so you're going to apply for grants for Broadway.
No, Broadway is separate. We're going out to bid to find out what it would cost for Broadway.
The whole Broadway. Ooh.
Broadway. I don't think, in my estimate, I don't think we're going to be able to get enough money for the whole Broadway. We might have to break it down into phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Okay, and what are the other various streets?
The various streets that we do around the city every year.
So they haven't been selected yet?
No.
So can you take public input if I email you some streets that really need it?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. And just a note, you know, the UEZ projects cannot be funded until the UEZ City Board is set to go. You need a UEZ board to do projects for you.
We have a UEZ State Board. They're going to approve the project.
So they're over,
They came in and met with me on the whole process because it's brand new, so it's all brand new. It's all brand new.
oh, okay.
So they actually came in because I didn't know what to do. So I actually asked, I called them and they actually came in and sat with me to explain the process.
So you're now in charge of UEZ?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But there's money coming in, so I wanted to know to make sure that it's done correctly.
Who is in charge of UEZ?
Well, Donna Russo and Jackie Fargo are working with the
Thank you.
And on add 2, Mr. Booker?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
And 3 is authorizing the bids for the paving of various streets. Who'd like to move it?
So move.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker? Aye. Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Now, is it your intention to come back after the closed session, or will you be adjourning?
We can adjourn right from there.
Okay. So R4 is authorizing a closed session to discuss pending and/or anticipated litigation and/or negotiations between the City of Bayonne and other parties regarding, 1, environmental litigation, and 2, civil and administrative litigation pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. The resolution is moved by Councilmember La Palusa. Ms. Weimer, will you second? Second. And on the resolution, Mr. Booker?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mike Restigno has a question.
Mike Rosigno, excuse me, 42 West 23rd. I'm just curious, the environmental litigation in regards to, what area is that, would that be, or?
Are we allowed to?
Going back a couple, Mike, the,
R4.
No, he's talking about R4, the closed session.
It's just in the closed session, I mean, I don't know, it just says environmental litigation.
We're going to close session to discuss possible litigation. I can't tell you where because it's possible litigation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there are 4 gentlemen in ties sitting there watching our meeting tonight. They're going to come in and talk to us about potential litigation.
Okey dokey, thank you, I was just trying to find the area, you know.
And we want to wish everybody, on behalf of the council, happy Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Columbus Day as well.